Okay, hey friends, this is Conversations with Tad. I'm Michael Patton, and we are going to get Tad directly in here. Come on, Tad. Let's see if I can pull you in. There you are, wrong side though.
Wrong side, yeah.
There you go.
Michael,
How you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. We haven't talked in a while.
I know, I missed you.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to do a shout out. So I was thinking about this earlier
Okay.
to Abraham Kingsley.
Okay.
You remember him?
I
He said hi to
don't.
me. He said hi to me that one time. He's in some weird, not weird, but amazing part of the world.
I no, I do remember. I do remember.
Yeah. So I just want to say hi to him. I was thinking about
All right. Hey, Abraham. Shout out to you. All right, Tad, we're doing discipleship. Folks, we're doing discipleship. We're discipling Tad. He is a believer now. I've been trying to get him a believer my whole life. He is a believer now. And so I'm taking him through the discipleship program of Credo House. Some of you guys have been through it, but we're going through it step by step, and we're just seeing what Tad has to say as we go through it. You know, Tad, one of the things about discipleship, right? I think this might interest you. I mean, it's part of the discipleship, maybe, but in the Bible, in the book of Acts, there's a passage that talks about a guy named Philip, which was one of the apostles of Christ, and he goes up to a guy that is from Egypt, and no, it's not Egypt. He is I can't remember right now. I think it's Egypt. Maybe it's Egypt, or maybe it's Libya. No, it's not Libya. But anyway, so this guy's coming through, and he's a royalty type guy, and he's trying to read through the Bible. And Philip goes up to him and says, "Do you understand, or do you understand what you're reading?" And he said, "How can I unless somebody's here to help me?" And so Philip tells him the gospel. He's probably reading Isaiah 53. That's what a lot of people think. I don't know why they think that, but could be right. Reading Isaiah 53 of the Old Testament because they didn't have the New Testament. And so he's interpreting it and telling them this is all about Jesus. You know that passage that I've told you about many times, that we have a full copy of Isaiah that goes back at least 200 years before Christ. And it's that passage that is uncanny prophecy, talking about how Christ was going to die for us. And anyway, so he becomes a believer and he gets baptized immediately, right? And he said, "What's preventing me from getting baptized now?" And Philip said, "Nothing. Let's go." So they got baptized.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because you have situations where people are baptized immediately, right? And I think obviously that's in the Bible, so that's the best way to go about it. We're going to baptize you sometime soon too, right?
Soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Now that
Where am I going to do? Where are we going to do it at?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Not in my pool, man. It is bad.
You know,
we wouldn't come out of that pool alive.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind doing it at the pool at these townhomes. I've talked to enough people now that I would be.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'd have a good audience, huh?
Yeah, and I think it would. I'd let them know, beforehand. But there's a lot of good people here, and they've had a lot of conversations with that.
Well, let's set that up soon. Seriously.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready. I think it'd be fun. I mean, I'm excited. I'm more than ready. It's just it makes me nervous. I don't know why, but
I don't know. I guess it is. I mean, it's a public confession, and it's just something that it is important. It's something you are showing other people that you are proclaiming Christ. You know, it's this public profession, a formal public profession. It's kind of like getting married. It's like a marriage ceremony with Christ, if you can put it that way.
Yeah. How long?
You've already signed the certificate. You're already married. We've already married you but we're going to do it in public now.
Okay. How long does it take?
Baptism?
Yeah. Well, I might have to get permission.
Well, I'm going to do like a 2-hour sermon.
Okay. Perfect.
No, it just takes a minute. It really does. Just no time at all. Yeah. I'll just say a couple of things and then I'll baptize you.
That's going to be really intense for you and I,
Yeah.
And you know me because I'm emotionally acute. That
you're getting research right now. I can tell.
I was thinking about something that happened, but the other day. But anyway, moving on. But yeah.
Well, anyway, in the early church, they had this process that you go through because you would have all these people from the Roman Empire, and they'd be worshipers of many gods, and they would come in and say, "Hey, do you want to accept Christ?" Kind of the same thing, and they'd say, "Yeah, I want to accept Christ." And they would accept them, but they would usually accept them with their other gods, and so it wasn't really an understanding. They had the early church decided to start discipling people for a long time. They were called catechumen. I think I've told you this before, but they went through a 3-year process of doing all this stuff, learning. I mean, it was being put under somebody. Somebody was kind of your spiritual mentor and helped you straighten out your life and just do everything. And then at the end of that 3 years, they would get baptized. And I don't think there's anything that you're supposed to do like that before you get baptized. But I do like the idea of whenever you become a Christian, going through an intense discipleship process, which is what you and I are kind of going through.
Maybe
most people don't get it.
Maybe I'm going to talk to Tyler, see if we can do it at his house. But anyway, keep going. I'm just thinking there's something I want to tell you so bad.
No, tell me.
It could come across as so corny, but I guess that's who I am now. I don't know, man. I don't even know me anymore. But do you remember when I told you that I felt God so strong that
day?
That day?
Yeah.
That has been just weighing on me, and I've prayed about it, and I've asked, and just thought because it just felt so strong. I've convinced myself, and I hope this is God convincing me, that my dad was with him, and it was my dad and him at the same time doing that, because it just felt so like my dad, like something my dad would do and say, "Hey, to God, Dad's doing this now, and I want you."
And you know how proud of you he is now,
huh?
You know how proud of you he is right now.
I think so, man. Because when I asked him right before he died, I said, "Do you know where you're going?" And he said, "Yep." And then 5 minutes later, and I think he is. I think that's because it couldn't have been anything else. I mean, I've thought this through so much.
Yeah.
It could not have been anything else. And anyway, I've been wanting to tell you that for a few days now, but I just thought, and I asked, Rhonda about it, and she was like, I mean, people are going to think it's corny, but it's the stuff that people need to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do you believe in stuff like that?
I believe people like you can feel things that people like me can't. And I believe that's why you're part of the body of Christ. You're part of the church. And I live off your experiences. You live off my teaching. Mm-hmm. I look at that stuff. I look at what you go through like that, and it becomes a part of me too, even though I don't experience it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay. Anyway.
I mean, I used to get really jealous. I used to get really jealous because there were people, and speaking of, I mean, this is exactly what we're talking about today here. Let's see if I can get this worked out.
Hey, man.
And this is a puzzle here, okay?
Yeah, I bet. You look good.
Thanks, bro. Okay, it's not moving.
There you are.
Let me do this.
Okay.
I got to go around the clock. This is all I can do. Okay.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the different sources of authority in our lives.
Yeah.
And we might just start with the experience, or talking about experience and emotions. John Wesley, he lived about 300 years ago, and he's a big deal in the church, especially in the Methodist Church, Wesleyanism. And he's a great guy. I mean, Arminian, but still a great guy. You don't know what that means yet. But anyway, he had 4 sources: the Bible, reason, tradition, and he combined emotion and experience into one. But I've changed that this has been the way I've taught it for a long time, because it's very different. People there's people out there that you'll find that have experiences. They experience God in the sense of answered prayer, right? Or or something will happen in their lives that God, they really see God coming through, and miracles happening. They experience things. It's something from the outside that comes to you, and it's very personal, and it's very meaningful, and you see it as being from God. And a lot of people have these experiences. I mean, they'll talk. You'll hear about all kinds of people with miracles and things that happen. And I used to get jealous of those things too, because I've had that one miracle with Angie. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing really else. But I began to see that these sources, you live off other people's experience, their emotion, their understanding of the Bible, their rationality, their tradition, those kind of things. And as long as we see it this way, then these all kind of interplay with each other. And so whenever you're talking about your stuff, I see you as very much, like I said, I'm not putting this in any sense trying to say like, let me put something bad in a good way, but I see you as very emotionally acute, because you experience things from the inside. There's emotions that you have, things that, I mean, whenever you became a believer, at least you think you really did, that time whenever you were doing that podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and you said, I just felt God.
I felt it. I mean, I'll never forget what that felt like.
Yeah,
I'm
it's crazy.
scared to death I'm going to start speaking in tongues. That's what I'm worried.
Well, you may. I'm kind of scared of that too myself. We'll have to get to that lesson quicker than.
Yeah.
But maybe, hey, I'll believe you if you do. Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't lie about this. I mean, this is all crazy to me.
Dude, I'd love to speak in tongues. I really would. I'd love to speak in tongues. I'd love to have somebody prophesy to me, have the experience of prophecy. I mean, there's just all kinds of things that God does do with other people. And I used to get jealous because they had these things that I didn't have. They'd call me and say,
I've told you this before. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. Go ahead.
I've told you this before, and I wonder if it's because I'm coming around so late in life and with all these life experiences and really truly believing as an adult would, and asking questions as an adult would. You have grown up your whole life believing, and he's like, okay, we already got him, let's go over here to this guy now.
No, that's actually, Tad, that's very insightful, because it's common among Christians to see this a lot. Like whenever you first become a believer, it seems like God does things that are, we either experiences, motions, whatever, something that touches you personally. And experience and emotions are the most personal out of all of these. I mean, these are experience and emotions is really what we want, what we try to get at, because that's what we live by. I'm not saying it's the most important. I'm just saying this is something that it's hard to live if your emotions are all messed up. It doesn't matter how good you are with all the other stuff. Maybe your reason's fine right now, and you're saying, I get it, I understand it all, but emotionally, I'm just depressed. I don't feel God, that kind of thing. I mean, it's going to mess everything up. Emotions and experience mess everything up, or they make it greater, a lot greater, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's like having ADD like I do, and everyone said, or not everyone, but therapists and stuff, because back then it was a true ADD, and which it still is, but they said I was never going to amount to anything. It was just going to be tough for me. I'll never be able to read. Just really tough for me in school and stuff. In school. But I finally one day realized, I was like, why don't I turn this into a gift, like a superhero power thing? And once you learn how to harness something like that, which is what you're talking about, it's life changing. You know what I mean? But when it gets bad, if you're emotional, it gets really bad.
Yeah.
And when it gets great, it gets really great. There is no medium. I'm all in on everything that I get passionate about. And I'm very passionate about what we're doing, and about the 501c3, the contributors and the generous folks. We can get back to that later. I don't want to do that every time. But anyway, this is a good one. You've been on fire today, man. keep going. I'm sorry for talking so much.
No, I want you to talk mainly. I mean, it's mainly about you, and I want to hear what you have to say because it helps me understand where to go with things. But um, I do get. I remember a guy called me one time, and he was doubter. You know how I deal with a lot of doubters, and doubt is purely an emotional thing. I mean, you feel it so deeply, and you can break in your life. It's like a midlife crisis. It's like a mind break. It's like, all of a sudden you're not who you were, and it could be from overload of experiences. It could be from there's just so many things that can cause it. But this guy called me and he was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, okay, tell me what's going on. Sometimes I was reading the Bible and I don't understand this, or this contradicts with this, or I was listening to this atheist friend and he brought up this. And sometimes it's very rational and very easy for me to help people through, right? Like you talk about, you know, an argument. I don't know if I believe God exists anymore because of this. It's real easy for me to get you back and rationally, right? Because rationally everything works. It's not hard. I mean, we got all the goods from Christianity. We can provide enough warrant where rationally you are obligated to believe. Not just, you can believe, you're obligated if you know these things. But emotionally, that's the problem. And this guy calls me, and it's one of the ones that are pure emotion, which almost all of them are. And he says, I don't know what to do. And I said, okay, what's going on? He said, well, I was praying this morning and I didn't feel the Holy Spirit. And I was like, well, keep on going. Tell me about it. And he's like, every single day I pray and it feels like God is right next to me. And in my mind, I'm sitting here thinking, gosh, it never feels like he's right next to me. And, I can get a little bit jealous of that because I would love to feel the presence of God the way so many people do. And that's why it's so important for me to be able to be content with the way God made me and live off other people's experience and emotions and believe them and be able to kind of draw from that, just like other people draw from my teaching.
That must have been so frustrating for you when I was not a believer, but I was still talking to him. So I don't really understand that, but I didn't believe who I was talking to. But when I was when I went through my little phase,
what phase? Which phase?
The man, I don't even like saying the word. My depression phase, because kids, I miss my kids so much every single day. But anyway, and then not believing, and then you're telling me all these things, and that's going to be so frustrating for you. You're like, dude, and you paid my phone bill just to make sure I was still around. But if you're dealing with somebody like that, that's emotional as I am, apparently. And
apparently I'm not.
No, I know.
Emotionally acute, bro. Come on, that's a good thing.
But anyway, that had to have been so frustrating for you, though, the more I think about it.
Can we come up with something better? Is emotionally acute? Is that good?
That's fine.
Are you sure?
I'm emotionally cute.
Emotionally enlightened. Emotionally aware. Emotionally aware. That's pretty good.
Okay.
I like acute though better.
I don't know why. I don't care. I get it now. I mean,
all right.
I've heard it.
Well, okay. What if I said, Tad, you're emotionally aware? Okay, that's one. Tad, you're emotionally acute. That's two. Which one sounds better?
Acute.
Acute. All right. I mean, that's the problem with it, though, Tad. And that brings up a very good point. Is that whenever you talk about these five, here's what happens: is the Bible is preeminent, which it should be. I mean, the Bible kind of rules over them all. Like they guard the Bible guards them. But the Bible is the supreme authority. And so, like, if your emotions say one thing and then the Bible says another, you go with the Bible, right?
Right.
You adjust your emotional pattern, whatever it may be. If your experience says one thing, that God is really doing this in my life, He wants me to take this job, and it's a job that, I don't know, it just is a corrupt job or something like that. Something that you know it's full of corruption, and you know that if you go there you'll have to be corrupt like them, and you say, but I really feel like I feel like God's doing it, and he's provided the situation for me to take this job. The Bible still rules, right? You
Mhm.
don't say, well, I'm going with the emotions, I'm going with my experience, because that is more authoritative than the Bible. That's why we stay in the Bible. That's why we read the Bible so much. That's why we seek our answers for our everyday decisions in the Bible. It's not always easy. I mean, sometimes you have to call me up, and sometimes I have to call somebody else up.
Mhm.
But does the Bible have anything to say about this kind of deal, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But here's the problem: is you got the Bible, which is the top. You have reason, which is really, I mean, whenever you say you're a very rational person, that's that sounds better culturally than you're a very emotional person, right?
Right.
Because you
Which again,
criticize people for being emotional. You talk to your wife, you're being emotional, you know, then you get in
right,
trouble, right? You
right,
don't say you're being rational
right.
to
Yeah.
criticize. And so you get Bible reasons good, tradition's even pretty good, because you're talking about the tradition of the church, the like we talked about last time, big the big chorus of people that have gone before us, and it creates a stability. But then whenever you get to experience an emotion, usually it gets a bad rap, and it does, because it's so powerful and it can mislead so much. But it doesn't mean it's not important for us to seek God through these as well.
Do you think that's maybe where, I don't know what you call him, the devil, Satan, or whatever, he feeds off those two?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's and I can totally see that. That would be, that's the lowest hanging fruit right there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It really is. I mean, it's the easiest way for him to affect our lives. Primarily, I think emotion's probably the most powerful, and experience is the second most powerful.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you get emotion and that kind of turns into an experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
That's not.
emotion was very secondary to me till I went through depression,
Uh-huh.
and in 2010 and all the way up until today, I still experience it.
Mhm.
But I'd never felt depression before. I never understood it before one bit. I just snap out of it, like with my sister, snap out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was that kind of thing. Then once you
But now that
break,
you've done, I'm selfishly happy that you went through that,
yeah,
because you saved my life because of it.
yeah.
Um, you just knew how to handle it. And I think there's a lot of people that are probably happy you went through it too, that you talked to, and you know how to talk. You know the language now.
Well,
Welcome
my
to the
sister's
present.
very happy I went through it. My
Who?
sister, my
Uh,
sister Christy, she's very
yeah,
happy I went through it.
yeah, yeah.
But no, I mean, all these make you bring a different dimension to your life. And just because you are born emotionally acute and God does use those with you, it doesn't mean we don't work on the other ones, right?
Hmm.
And I think I figured, well, I got the Bible and reason, and I don't care about the rest. Tradition's this is a good order actually to put them in, because tradition would be right in the middle as far as prestige. Like, some people put it up really highly, and other people just say, that's just tradition.
Yeah,
That's,
that's where my questions are coming from.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. You've kind of got tradition probably down at the very bottom as
Yeah,
being the
yeah, yeah.
most. And I mean, think of it this way: tradition could be used by Satan. They all can,
Hmm.
but nothing like emotion and experience. Nothing like emotion.
Can you believe those Mormons still haven't called me back?
Well,
I
they'll tell you to prove that Mormonism is true, you got to seek ye a burning in thy bosom. Like, you'll have a deep feeling that it's true. And that's kind of one of the things where they say, don't worry about reason, don't worry about the Bible, don't worry about tradition, and maybe don't even worry about experience. Just seek God and ask him, and he'll put a burning in your bosom if it's true. And if you
Maybe
get a
that's why
burn,
I'm having so much heartburn lately. Might be burning in my bosom.
Well, they shouldn't have come over to your house, dude.
Yeah, no,
Saying, no, you can't come in here again. Heartburn hurts, dude. It really
oh
does.
man, it's all bad. It's all
Yeah,
bad.
it's terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. There's not much you can do about it.
Nah, I mean, I've already had. Well, but moving on.
Okay, so all of these interact, and all of them have benefits and deficiencies. Okay, so we've already talked about tradition and the benefits and deficiencies. Let's talk just for a moment about reason. Okay.
Okay.
Here's the way I like to think of reason. It's kind of the swimming pool that we do theology in. I'm working on this, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. It's the waters that surround us. You can't really do anything without reason. Reason is kind of the first step of all knowledge, because in order to have knowledge, you have to have some type of rational capacity to filter it through. I mean, coming even down to language. Language is a very rational thing. Whenever you talk about grammar, grammar is a very rational thing. You got in English the subject verb object relationship, and whenever you and I are sitting here talking, you're listening and you're understanding, because in the back of your mind it's putting it together. Subject verb object.
Yeah,
You're not.
That's a great definition.
Yeah. And so it's everything you do, anything from mathematics to logic, making arguments, analytical statements. A triangle has three sides, that kind of thing. Does a triangle really have three sides? And you say, well, of course it does, because it has to have three sides. Well, how do you know? Because rationally it doesn't work out otherwise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can God lie? And then the Bible says he can't lie. And you say, if he can't lie, then rationally, this is so elementary, Tad, I'm telling you.
No, just keep going, man.
If the Bible says he can't lie, and I believe he can't lie, then by definition, he can't lie. He has to tell the truth. So that is something we just rationally do. It's always in the background, but it doesn't mean we can't mess rationality up just because it's natural to us. And it is. It's something we're born with.
Yeah.
Like you sit here and you think, where did I come from? Okay, I come from my mom and dad. Where did they come from? Well, they come from there. All the way back to the first humans. Even if you go through evolution, you go through the 16 billion years of history, and then you get all the way back to the Big Bang. And you say, well, where did it come from? We understand that something can't come from nothing, and if the Big Bang is something, then it had to have come from something. That's rationality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's simple.
Yeah. No, I like that.
And
give me a lot to think about.
Well, think of analytical statements, or think of syllogisms. Here's the popular one that you hear, or you would hear in philosophy a lot. Socrates. Wait. Socrates is a man. A man. I can't remember it now. Okay, I'll come up with one of my own. Socrates. Men can die. Right?
Yeah.
Premise one, all men die. I think this is actually it. Premise one, all men die. Premise two, Socrates was a man. Conclusion. What's conclusion?
Socrates died.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, simple, right?
Yeah. You're the one that taught me that one time. You said one out of us die.
Yeah.
So I might as well put everything I've got into God.
Yeah.
And I have never forgotten that. And I probably repeated that 1,000 times. One of us, we can't get out of this alive. You know?
Was that at Andy's funeral?
Could have been.
Yeah, I heard that from Mark Hitchcock, actually. One out of her. No, who did I hear that
wasn't
from?
You?
I don't know. I don't remember. I honestly don't. It seems like maybe Chet. You know, you hear everything from someone.
Not me.
Except for my pool illustration. That just now started with me.
Yeah. No, I got a lot of Tadisms.
Yeah.
But well, man, we've hit our time.
Okay.
Oh,
I didn't mean to do that.
okay. I was like, well,
One more thing. Okay, let's just talk about examples. I've given examples of rationality, mathematics, logical statements, syllogisms, analytical statements. Just everything. And think about this as through the weekend. Just think about the things that depend on good rationality. So you have benefits of it. Here's the benefit, real quick, Tad.
Yeah.
Whenever you're right, you're right. That's
Right. Yeah.
so like whenever you have good premise, Socrates was a man. Premise number 2, all men die. As long as both of those are correct, the conclusion's always going to be correct. So the only thing you can evaluate and challenge is, was Socrates really a man? Or do all men really die? That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's very strong whenever it works. And as a matter of fact, I would say it can't be wrong whenever it works. Just like 1 + 1 cannot not equal 2. Triangle cannot not have 3 sides.
That's
So
like, it goes back to what I told you my dad said that one time.
what's
He
that?
said a lot, actually, that he goes, I've only been wrong once, but I knew I was wrong, so that made me right. See, that's kind of the same thing right here, man. It's like,
There you go. I'm not sure if that would work out in a syllogism.
Yeah.
I'll have to put it down in one later.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. But deficiencies. We do not have all the data, right? We can put a lot of stuff together, but we can be missing part of the equation. Like, we don't have all the information about the world and the universe to be able to make, we can make as rational as we can scientifically about things, but we cannot certainly make it perfect because there can be a curveball thrown in that messes up everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got all kinds of stuff like that within our rational thinking. You have to have all the right information for the syllogism to work. Do we have all the right information? Maybe there's somewhere on the other side of the world where men do not die, right? We're not positive about that. We can sit there and act like we're positive, but in the end we're not. Right?
That's a good point.
Yeah. So we're pretty sure. So it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's not perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the deficiency. Sometimes we think we have all the information and we don't. And sometimes we have wrong information about it and then we mess up. And sometimes we don't do the syllogisms correctly. We do things that just don't make any sense. Socrates, all men die. Socrates was a woman, therefore he dies. Things like that are in our lives.
Yeah.
The things where you back it up, you say, wait a minute, that doesn't follow. We call it a non sequitur in philosophy, but it's just something that doesn't follow. It doesn't work out. So there are deficiencies. We're not perfect at doing mathematics. But whenever it's right, it is very right. It is from God. God is rational. God isn't rational in the sense that he does rational stuff. He is rational in the sense that he is the very seat of rationality. Rationality is who he is. So whenever we do these things, we are expressing. Whenever we tell the truth, we are acting in concert with God's character. So God doesn't decide to act rationally. He is rationality. That's where it comes from. Get it?
Yes.
Yeah, well, think about it over the weekend, all right?
I promise.
All right,
man. I love
Thanks,
you, Mike.
Dad. Love you too.
Thanks for your time.